Welcome to another episode here on Your Digital Makeover. My name is Jerry Colbert, and in today's episode, I'm going to show you how you can assign money to your budget inside of YNAB. And it's all coming up next. In today's episode, I'm going to show you all how you can assign money inside of YNAB on your budget. So let's get right to it. So as you see here, I have opened up YNAB and I have the demo account that I'm using for this tutorials. And as you see here, I'm in November. And if you remember my other episodes that I talked about, well, there was a comments section here in the budget for this month that I put in $5,000 inflow. That means that's how much money I'm expecting in for this month. I just like to have that in there so I have an idea of how much money I have to budget for, okay? And is my current income going to match my current obligations, okay? So as you see here, I have went ahead and put in all my goals for my categories, or my targets for my categories on how much I think I'm going to spend on each category. And if you watched my last episode, I showed you how you can actually set your targets for each one of your categories. Well, I went ahead and filled them all in for what I had selected here for all my categories. And depending on, what is for. Some were monthly, some were yearly expenses, and what forth. So now, as you see here, over here it says that I'm underfunded by $4,849.17. Well, that's good, sort of. Well, it is kind of good because I'm expecting $5,000 in my month. In this month, I'm expecting $5,000 inflow. So I am under that, so I can meet all my obligations. Now, it's very important when you're setting up your categories to make sure that when you're doing this and you're setting them up and setting up each one of your targets, that you pay attention to your underfunded amount, because you don't want to have to fund more than you are actually taking in, because then you'll be using a lot of credit to get yourself out of the hole, right? But then you'll wind up putting yourself in the hole by debt. So you want to make sure that you're underneath your inflow. And typically you want to be a little bit more than what I got here, but this is just a demo. I'm just showing y'all right now how to do assign money to these categories. But typically you don't want to have such a short margin like that. What is that, about $150 I'm going to have left at the end of the month. Now, you could basically have it all matching. Underfunded be $5,000 and funded $5,000 if you have your emergency funds all set up properly inside of your budget. You could max out every single dollar, have them going to every single place, right? I do that a lot of times, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like to have a little wiggle room, because I might, especially when you're first starting off, you might want to have a little bit of wiggle room, because maybe you're incorrect on some of your assumptions on how much you're going to spend on the category for a month. And so, like, for instance, groceries, who knows, you might, if this is your first time budgeting, maybe you're just taking a guess, so I spend $500, maybe it's $600. So you want to have that little buffer so you're not stealing from other areas and having to readjust all the time, right? So you want to leave yourself a little buffer. I say for at least 3 to 6 months, so you can kind of get a feel for each one of your categories, how they are laying as far as, the amount that you're going to be spending every month. And YNAB is going to give you kind of an estimate on your average spend per month once you get further down the road. If you're just starting out YNAB, it'll probably take 3 to 6 months to get a kind of an idea, and YNAB to get an idea how much you're spending on each category every month, right? And kind of give you an average. So you can kind of figure out, then you kind of readjust everything. And then once you do that, you could basically have your funding amount the same as your inflow for that month, because you want to have every dollar having a job, right? But for right now, I'm going to show you how, once I get my budget set up and I haven't assigned any money, I haven't gotten really any paychecks yet. Okay, this is the beginning of the month and everything. I just started all of this YNAB stuff, right? I just started my budget, and I've already put in my accounts, how much money I have in my accounts. And so my accounts here are reflecting the ready to assign. Okay. Now, you can assign this stuff in different ways. Okay. You can go here and click on each line item and go ahead and type in $100, right? Because right here it says that I need $100 by Sunday. So I can type in $100 right here, right? And if you notice, this amount, $7,900, just went down, right? Because I just took $100 from that and put it into tithing. Now I could go down for each one of these and do that, right? But there's an easier way. And I always like working smarter, not harder. So instead of doing that, going down each one and looking at what the amount is needed, right, and plugging that in, what I could do instead is, let me go ahead and take these out, or I don't have to. I could have left them in there, but I just want to show you this really cool thing with YNAB is I know that I want all of this funded. Okay, I can just click on assign here, and it says auto. Now I could hit underfunded here, or instead of just clicking here and hitting underfunded, and this is, by the way, if you notice, this is on auto. Sometimes you'll see it on manual, and you can manually select where you want your money to go. But if you want to do it automatically, you can just hit underfunded, and it'll fund all of these categories for you that have a target. Or if you're off, you see how you got this little button here? You can select all your categories, or if you've already selected one, like right here, unclick it, and now all your categories are empty, or all the check marks are empty. And over here to the right, under assign, you have underfunded. So you can click up here, or you can just click here. And once you do that, once you click underfunded, it's going to give you this nice little pop-up. And it's going to say, I'm going to assign, why am I saying? I'm going to assign all of your available money here in the ready to assign. I'm going to assign it to all of your categories. And this is how much I want to assign to each one of your categories. Okay. So then I just hit assign. And voila, it has assigned all of that money into your categories. And now it says I have $3,150.83 left over of the available cash that I have here. Now, I have a choice. What do I want to do with that? Do I want to go ahead and start funding next month? Which is typically what I like to do. Now, some people like to have an emergency fund, but here's the thing with just having a blank emergency fund. You're throwing money in there. You don't really know what it's for, right? You're just throwing it in there for any emergency because you don't know what emergencies. But once you get good enough at this, you'll figure out what categories you need to fund for emergencies. Like in my budget, I already have certain categories that I know are going to be emergencies at some point in time, and that I'm funding. But I still have a job loss emergency fund, so to speak, that I fund as well. But what I like to do a lot of times before I do that is I like to go ahead and fund the next month's budget. Okay. Now remember, YNAB only does 2 months at a time. And when you get closer to the end of November, it'll open up January. But YNAB only does 2 months. Okay. So you can only fund up to 2 months. But that's like having an emergency fund, isn't it? Because if you have all of your obligations funded, then for 2 months, you don't really have anything to worry about. And then you can have a job loss emergency fund and have some money in that in case you're out of a job for longer than 2 months, right? So what I like to do is, with that extra money here that I have, I'm going to go ahead and skip on over to December. Okay. And let's go ahead and put in what I'm expecting that month. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I see that I'm underfunded by $4,964. Now, there's a few things I can do. I can just let YNAB do it, or I can do it. A lot of times I just let YNAB do it, and then there's sometimes that I'll do it myself. It just depends on, like if I'm getting a paycheck in, $1,000 or what have you, I'll decide, maybe I'll choose the categories I want to do next month. Maybe there's bare necessities that I want to do first, and I'll show you how to set up your little filters up here at the top, because I have filters set up for my budget like bare necessities. So therefore, if I did lose my job, these are definitely covered first, and then I'll cover the rest of that at a later time with another paycheck or what have you, right? But for right now, in order to assign the rest of these dollars here in my thing, I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. But one thing I like to always do first is knock out my debt if I can. So is it smart to go ahead and fund December already? Or should I, since my credit card's only $1,000, go ahead and come back over to November and go ahead and pay off that credit card? So I can save myself on interest, right? So I'll go ahead and pay off that credit card. Then I'll jump back over to December and I'll hit underfunded. And now notice it says I'm underfunded by $4,925, but it's not going to take $4,000 from here because I only got $2,189.30 here to assign. So it's going to make an assumption on what I should do, and it's going to tell me what I don't have enough money to do. Okay, so I just go ahead and click assign money, and voila. Now all of my money has been assigned to everywhere. Okay, and if you notice, it says $500 here, and I have $900 here, right? And this is in December. If you go back over here to November, that's because I funded in November $400 and I haven't spent any of that. So this is giving me my available without spending anything, okay? Now, once you spend stuff in December, this is going to go down, and likewise in November, it's going to go down, right? But that is basically how you go ahead and assign very easily and quickly when you're first starting out all your money to all your categories so that you have everything fully funded. Now I'm fully funded for this month. I don't have to worry about anything. Now before, what I was doing was I would have all my categories set up and I would have an emergency fund, and I had the savings account, and I put all of my my savings account money as my emergency fund, and I'd always have to keep track of that. If I took from that, I would have to adjust my emergency fund and take from savings. But there's no reason to, because I don't need my account to be really associated with my budget in a way where they're equal. And what I mean by that is I don't need my savings account to save $5,000 and my emergency fund to save $5,000. In fact, to be honest with you, I got rid of my savings account. I'm getting 0.03% interest a year just by having it there. Now, I just have my checking accounts. I have two checking accounts. I have one at one bank, one at another bank, just in case of any kind of fraud or whatever happens. I don't have all my eggs in one basket, but I just have two checking accounts. And what I do is I pay mostly out of one. Sometimes I'll pay out of the other, but that's where most of my money lies, in those checking accounts. And I don't even have a savings account. And I've created my emergency fund as categories, so I can build up those funds and then have a job loss fund for any kind of job losses that occur. But I really done away with the old emergency fund thing. Just having that category doesn't really tell me anything where that money's going to go or where it could possibly go. And I was constantly having to take from it and rearrange stuff, and it was just really a hassle. So instead of me taking, like, for instance, I would have, like, let's say, for instance, this was $8,000 in my bank, right? I would have $8,000 down there in my emergency fund, And then I would take each one of my paychecks of $1,000 each week, right? And I would take those and I would fund every week. But I was finding that sometimes I would spend more than $1,000 in a week, right? I would spend more than $1,000 in a week for whatever reason. Maybe my mortgage and my car payment all happened in 1 week. Maybe my car payment and my grocery bills and my phone was more than $1,000 in a week. Then I was having to take from another category and this and that. By funding ahead like this, you save yourself a lot of hassle of moving money around and constantly, because I don't like to see it in yellow. So if I was underfunded, like for instance, let's say I had $300 in here, I don't like seeing that. It drives me nuts. It's just my OCD, I guess. But I don't like seeing that. Okay. So I would have to take from another area. If I didn't have anything ready to assign up here, I would have to take to another area to cover that. And then that area might be underfunded. So it would just drive me nuts. So, but my point is this. It just makes everything a lot easier and a lot less readjusting if you can just fund 1 month ahead. So if you've got a lot of money in your savings account or in your checking account and all of your accounts, all your bank accounts, and you have a lot of liquid cash available, go ahead and fund 1 month ahead of time and make sure you have emergency funds set up and just fund 1 month ahead of time. And then each of your paychecks that you get in that month, you go ahead and fund the next month. And if you're doing your budget right and you're saving enough money, then at the end of the month, you can take that money and put it into your job loss fund or another emergency fund that you have set up. Like, like sometimes I have down here, I have appliances, replacement fund, small replacement fund, furniture replacement. You can put extra money into those funds that you have set up for emergencies later on down the road. Like, I know at some point in time I'm going to have to replace my roof. I know at some point in time I'm going to have to replace my AC, right? Sometime you're going to have to replace your furniture. You don't know when. Those are unknowns, right? So maybe you put some of that extra money at the end of the month into those areas. Maybe you get a bonus at Christmas and you don't know what to do with that. A lot of times I have where I have a section here held aside for bonuses. So if I don't know what to do, I'll plug it in here real quick so I can get everything out of my money to assign. I'll plug it in here, and then later on I'll distribute it to what other areas that I think are emergency funds that I could help fund a little bit quicker, right? And so that's how you take care of assigning money inside of YNAB. Pretty easy peasy, not really anything hard. But if y'all have any questions concerning this, please feel free to leave me a comment right down below. And if you like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. It really does help spread out these videos to others that might need it. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you want to see more of these episodes in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and the notification bell. And with that being said, I want to wish y'all a wonderful week, and I'll catch you next episode. Take care. Bye.